Hi, y'all. Jackie back here, this time to show you a little bit about Module 6. I'm asked to do this to kind of let you into my brain and my planning process to take the resources that UT gives us and kind of say, how does that work in a high school classroom? I teach 5 days a week, 45, 46 minutes a day. So I see my students every day. So we are talking about Module 6, but as I was preparing for Module 6, I'm a big picture kind of gal. So I needed to kind of understand where we were at. And this is actually made pretty clear if you look at the pacing guide. So I'm going to jump there first. So as always, I go to Instructor HQ. I go to course resources. I go to course documents, pacing guides, and the one I am using here is the week by week pacing guide. As always, knowing the college due dates is super important. We're going to look at my calendar here in a moment. So it's expected that they are working on their revision, right? So let me see if I can. Yeah, so here. So they're working on 6.1, but they're getting their feedback. They are looking at the revision process. They're doing that for homework, but in class, they're kind of working on module 6, right? So this is a very chaotic classroom in my brain, right? We are working on module 6, which is actually for the persuasive essay, but we're also doing paper conferences in class. And we are doing, for their homework, they are revising the mapping the controversy. So we're really juggling quite a few things. Okay. And that is real. That is reality. In my classroom, October is always very crazy, just with some retreats that I'm in charge of, some like English stuff that I'm in charge of. It's just always, October is crazy. We all have a 4-day week in October or 4-day weekend in October. So it's a little bit chaotic. So there's really no tangible way for me to do that. So what we do in my class, but this is a great, obviously, as always, very smart people made this resource and it's really, really great. So if you have block scheduling or you don't have any days off or October looks no different for you, then definitely follow these instructions. My calendar looks a little bit more like this. So we are beginning when we're waiting for the grade release. So on October 9th, we're going to get the grade release. As we're waiting for the grade release, we will be working on module 4 for the persuasive essay. As soon as we get the grade release, we go into a 4-day weekend, which does not really bother me. I will prepare the kids on like the 8th or the 9th, what they need to do. Then we are paper conferencing all this week. So the 14th through the 17th, I've got to get boogie. We got a paper conference. We're working on revisions, all of the things. I'm going to push this MC due date to the 22nd, just due to the fact that I'm not going to be in class on the 21st. As soon as we're done submitting, we're going to move on to where we begin today, which is module 6, which again goes back to our persuasive essay. So we're working on the persuasive essay. We get the comments and the grade release, and we transition back to the mapping the controversy. And as soon as we submit that, we're going back to the persuasive essay. So if I look at the big picture according to like the modules, that's what that looks like. So we're talking about assumptions, right, in module 4. Then we go to revision and paper conferencing. And then now we're back to module 6. But I got a boogie because our essay is due the 11th. I'm pushing it to the 12th because we have Veterans Day, which is a huge ceremony at our school. So I'm pushing that to the 12th. We will peer review on the 10th. So they need to have everything written and ready to submit for peer review by Monday, the 10th. We got a boogie. We gotta get going. So that's the big picture of where are we in the semester. Okay. Now we have to look at the big picture of where are we in on-ramp. So like I said, 4 is all about inventing the argument. 5 goes back to the MC. 6 is all about the opposition. So we have 4, which is inventing the student's argument, and then 6, which is talking about the opposition. So how I needed to kind of understand this is I use this document. So module 2 is just important notes about oppositions, right? You have a class activity that you can choose to do with the students. Okay, and then we have concession. So we have a few common tactics of concessions, but then they should also practice, oh, I'm sorry, on choosing the opposition. They should take notes. I do a class activity on opposition where I get them into groups of 3, and I have someone who is opposing them, not aggressively, but opposing them. They're actually, yeah, they're in groups of 3. I have a video on that from a couple years ago. Then I want them to choose an appropriate oppositional viewpoint, which they may have from their MC research, so that it may or may not be challenging. So once they have their oppositional resource, they should be able to start the concession. So we talk about the common tactics, which are listed here. And then they should, which is kind of the discussion board, they should start practicing writing concessions. So you can definitely assign that discussion board or do this class activity. But the concession board is where they are writing, practicing concession to their own opposition, which is super important. Okay, so now we go to refutation. And if I looked at this like via the modules page, I'll notice the setup. So we refute evidence, we refute inference, induction, analogy, difference, definition, and causation. So we are refuting someone's argument that is listed in these ways, which is how I have it kind of set here in the notes. So what is a refutation? And then the notes on all of these modules, which I could note the modules there. All of these have, oops, I didn't need to do that because I can go here. Okay, so they have a discussion board on writing refutations for that, or class activity for that. All of these have one. So you just have to determine, I just lied. Not all of them have one. So you just have to determine which ones you're going to do, or are they going to like read through all of these and then do a class activity on them as a whole. The way that it is in the pacing guide is some of them are grouped together and then some of them are a little bit more separate. So here, the discussion board for difference and definitions are together. So they kind of do that a couple times with the refutations. So yeah, so you'll just get to choose what activities work for you, what discussion board. Are you going to do all the discussion boards and none of the activities because you're going to be paper conferencing? So that might be a little bit challenging to do that many activities. So then we go to rebuttal. So, and I, obviously, like, so we concede, we say this, this element of this argument is noteworthy, and this is where we can agree. And then we find an argument that we need to refute entirely, right? And how are we going to do that? Are we going to do that through analogy? Or what type of argument are they creating, and how do we need to break it down? And then we have our rebuttal, which is coming back and saying, like, why our argument is stronger, or providing a stronger argument. So I really, as always, love the structure of our curriculum here. It makes a lot of sense to me to talk about my argument first, and then in ways to argue, and then studying the opposition. 7, which we're not going to talk about today, but 7 is all about how to write persuasively to a specific audience and identifying that audience. So I hope that this was helpful. It's a lot. So we don't have to do every single activity. You don't have to do every single discussion board. Getting through the content is really important so that the students know what to expect. So that is very, very important.